Monday Night Raw turns 30 years old, a Briscoe on TV, and our 2023 Royal Rumble preview and predictions. Well, the ref is giving you until the count of 5 because you're against the ropes. Hello, and welcome to Against the Ropes, your source for your wrestling news. I'm Thomas Emeric, and with me once again is my tag team partner and co-host, Taylor Berkowitz.
Netflix, I'm looking at you. Premiering a show called Against the Ropes, you're stealing our gimmick. And there's only one way to settle this, in a steel cage.
Well, the shoulders are down, and the ref has started the count, so let's get to the show. On January 11th, 1993, the WWF World Wrestling Federation aired their first episode of Monday Night Raw on the USA Network, coming to us live from the Manhattan Center in New York City. For over 30 years, Monday Night Raw was able to entertain us with some historic moments. Now, Berk, what is your favorite moment that has happened in the past 30 years of Monday Night Raw?
Two of them for me. One, BECKY winning the championship. When he cashed in, I want to say it was 2021. One kind of coming out of the pandemic and the Thunderdome era. Was great to see that in front of a live audience, but also, BECKY is just a guy you are rooting for. You've always been rooting for. He's so much fun. And the fact that they gave him, you could question how great his title run was, but the fact that they gave him that rub, that was one of my favorites. But the other one, just in terms of pure segment, the Festival of Friendship was just, I think, one of the all-time most fun, classic moments. Jericho is great. Owens is great. That storyline together, just one of my, so well done. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite things that always stands out.
So for me, my favorite moment that happened in the past 30 years of Monday Night Raw was Shane McMahon returning to WWE in February of 2016, I believe. I thought, watching that when I was about 10, 11 years old, I thought that was a really big moment for me to witness, I guess, if you got what I'm saying.
Yeah, I was I guess just before I was starting to get back into it. So I don't, I know of it. But I did not see it firsthand.
So the build up to the match for The Undertaker and Shane McMahon at WrestleMania, I just really enjoyed that build up, and it what kept me entertained in that during that time.
I can't argue with that. I will, if there's one thing I'm gonna, just admit here, when Raw started, this was kind of around the time that I was falling out of watching wrestling, and then Nitro kicked in, and all those, the guys I grew up with went over there. So early on, I was more a Nitro guy. So I, some of the great early moments I wasn't really watching for, and it was, it's the more recent moments that have stood out. And 2016, I wasn't really into it, so I don't know that one. I think one of the other big moments that you were talking about was one I do remember. So you want to tell us what your other favorite moment was?
Yes, that is Seth Rollins stabbing Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns in the back and basically ending the Shield in 2014. I think that was either June or May of 2014. That really kind of hit me hard when I was little, because I really liked the Shield as a tag team. They were phenomenal. And then just Seth Rollins betraying Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, that just really hit me. That really hit me hard in the heart, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I'll say again, even as, again, kind of being only tepidly into things, and even I knew about. I mean, that was a big enough thing, or even as a very casual fan and observer back in 2014, Even I knew about it. That's how big that moment actually was.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. And like looking back at like Seth Rollins' career, like after he broke up with the Shield, like he was able to accomplish so much stuff, like winning the Universal Championship, the WWE Championship, the United States Championship, winning the Royal Rumble. Like the list goes like on and on. And like he was just able to accomplish like so much like after he broke out of the Shield.
Agree. Well, Raw 30, gave us a lot of opportunities to relive some of the nostalgia. We'll do a quick rundown of the show, but before we get into the details, I have to, the opening segment. Less than a week after Jay Briscoe passes away, and you can't really have a full tribute to him on national television because of things that happened in the past, you have Hulk Hogan, a bad human being who has said and done some horrible things, kicking off Raw 30. And I understand Hogan's importance. Again, as a kid, I loved Hogan, Macho Man. That's my guy. So I was always a Macho Man guy over Hogan. He's a bad guy. People don't like him as a human being. And to have him in this era, weeks after Vince McMahon coming back from sexual harassment, getting kicked out because of that, settling a rape lawsuit. Later on in the show, you get Ric Flair, another guy with a checkered past. Hulk Hogan opening up that show does not sit right with me. It doesn't. He's not necessary on TV in 2023. He added nothing. You want to throw clips of him up there, great, but he wasn't even that big of a part of Raw because he was pretty much out by the time Raw started to kick off. It didn't sit right with me. It really set a bad tone for the show. But after that, again, the show itself, you have Sami Zayn in the tribal court, which led into the Usos defeating the Judgment Day in a tag team match for the Raw titles. Whatever that LA Knight American Badass Undertaker segment was. Becky Lynch and Bayley in not a steel cage match. The DX segment that led to the 6-man tag, which thankfully did not involve members of DX. Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair in the ring. Kevin Owens stunning The Miz. And Brock Lesnar's return to cost Bobby Lashley the United States Championship. What was your favorite part of the show?
So my favorite part was definitely the LA Knight, Bray Wyatt, and Undertaker segment. I really thought it was a cool moment to see the Undertaker and Bray Wyatt back in the ring, and you got to see the Undertaker kind of like whisper something in Bray Wyatt's ear, kind of like a passing of the torch to Bray Wyatt.
This is, for me, I thought that was a hot mess. LA Knight, I can't even call him LA Knight. It's Eli Drake. It was kind of rambling and, okay, people want to see Undertaker. I don't know who really wants to see American Badass Undertaker. Didn't love that. The DX segment, the tribal court, I thought was a terrific segment all around. Led into a great match. Ran long, had a ripple effect on the show. But I thought the DX save, and the Bell loves the DX segment. I thought that was a great segment. All in all, a pretty good show. Some fun legends segments that those types of shows always provide. And a little bit of storyline development for the Rumble, but not a lot.
Yeah.
When we come back after break, Dynamite was on yesterday with the show from Lexington, Kentucky, and we will give our thoughts on that. Don't go away.
Welcome back to Against the Ropes. AEW Dynamite had a pretty stacked show with Darby Allin taking on Buddy Matthews for the TNT Championship, Bryan Danielson taking on the Machine, Brian Cage, Ruby Soho taking on Tony Storm, and most importantly, a tribute to Jay Briscoe. Berk, what was your high point of AEW Dynamite?
Obviously, I think it was the Jay Briscoe tribute match. Mark Briscoe, his brother, wrestling Jay Lethal, who, looking at Jay Lethal, you could see he's in tears at the beginning of that. It was emotional. It was an emotional night. You could hear it in Excalibur's voice. I'm assuming there were some tears behind that mask. I thought they did a tremendous job with the package before showing the candid video of him with his family, which again, if I'm tearing up a little thinking about it. It was just a really wonderful moment. Sad that it had to be, that this is what got those guys on television, and that there was so much behind the scenes stuff that had to go into that. But they did a great job. Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman on commentary, bringing those guys in, really added that element of, what they meant to Ring of Honor. Mm-hmm. Just everything about it. I thought they did a tremendous job with the match overall, and paying tribute to Jay Briscoe in a truly meaningful way.
So I would have to agree with you for Jay Lethal and Mark Briscoe being my high point of AEW Dynamite, because it really just touched me as a fan to see them pay tribute to Jay Briscoe like that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know how much Ring of Honor stuff we've watched in the past. I would, if they start doing a weekly Ring of Honor show, I think, I'll probably spring for getting Honor Club, but it might be worth the $9.99 for a month to go back and watch some of their great matches. And they really did have some great matches. I mean, I was lucky enough to see them at 2 Final Battles. Mm-hmm. And it's just seeing the locker room coming out at the end, and what they meant to the wrestlers individually as human beings. Mm-hmm. It just really, it drives home that these are real people, that they have real emotions. They're here for our entertainment. Mm-hmm. But they're friends, they're family, and it's sad, but it was great to see. It took a week. Maybe better that they were able to do something really nice as opposed to rushing something.
Yeah.
But it was great to see that they acknowledged him the way he deserved to be on AEW television. The rest of the show was a fine show. I thought the opening match was good. The Danielson match, I mean, I thought Danielson's promo probably the best they've had in this storyline with MJF. Mm-hmm. But I think in my view of things, we were all just waiting, for the main event, and it was just okay. Like, all right, let's go, come on, let's get Mark Briscoe out there. So it was kind of, to me, just a good show, but kind of a filler show.
Mm-hmm. I would have to agree with you.
All right. When we come back, it is Royal Rumble time. So start your countdown, because we'll be giving our preview and predictions right after this.
Welcome back. We haven't kicked out yet, so let's talk about the WWE Royal Rumble coming up this Saturday live from the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas. The Royal Rumble was a pay-per-view concept created by the brilliant mind of the late great WWE Hall of Famer Pat Patterson. Eliminations occur when a superstar is thrown over the top rope with both feet landing on the floor. 30 superstars will enter. Only one will be left standing, and that person will earn a championship match at WrestleMania.
In addition to the men's and women's Rumbles, there are 3 other matches currently on the card. Bianca Belair and Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship. Bray Wyatt and LA Knight in a Mountain Dew Pitch Black match. And Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. So let's get into our predictions. First up, Bianca Belair versus Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship. Thomas, who are you taking in this one?
I'm going with Alexa Bliss becoming the new Raw Women's Champion, because you've been seeing it on Raw these past few weeks. You've been seeing the slow transition for Alexa Bliss, possibly going back into the Fiendette character, and you're seeing Uncle Howdy interfering with Alexa Bliss and getting into her head, basically. So I'm going with Alexa Bliss coming out as the new Raw Women's Champion.
Yeah, I think it's a good thought. I mean, I'm going to stick with Bianca Belair. I think you can run storylines with this, fiendette of Uncle Howdy. Who knows where Bray Wyatt fits in this whole thing? Without her carrying the title.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's more intrigue about putting on Bianca Belair match. There's going to be more interest in that as one of the big matches at one of the nights of Mania. So I'm going to stick with Bianca Belair for that. Next up, whatever this is going to be, it is the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match. Don't ask me to explain it, but somehow it will involve Mountain Dew. This is Bray Wyatt versus LA Knight. I'll just say this. I think my lock of the year is it's going to be Bray Wyatt on this one. I don't see how there's any way that they finish a storyline like this without Bray Wyatt going over.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. I'm choosing Bray Wyatt coming out with the victory. I really don't see LA Knight beating Bray Wyatt in his first match back in WWE, so I'm going Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, I'd put a good amount of money on that. The big one, Roman Reigns, the undisputed WWE Universal Champion versus Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn being expected to show his loyalty to the Bloodline. There's a lot going on here. Who do you have on this one?
I'm going Roman Reigns retaining his undisputed Universal Championship because, there's a potential someone that he could face in Hollywood. I'm not going to say who, but we'll find out in Hollywood.
I agree with the potential someone, and that's part of why I think maybe this could go in the opposite direction, because does that somebody need a title on the line? How do you run that? By the way, we're talking about The Rock. Do you need that? I don't know, and I'm kind of I had a thought going into Monday night, and now my thought has changed. So I am going to stick with Roman Reigns. I don't think, they're going to take. If it was one belt, I think maybe there's a shot. I don't think they're putting both belts on Kevin Owens, and I think somehow maybe this will lead to Roman versus Sami either at one of the nights of Mania or somewhere in between. Mm-hmm. Then we get to our Rumbles. First, the 30-women's Royal Rumble here. This one's interesting because, again, there are multiple options here, but who's your pick to win the Women's Rumble?
So I have two picks currently. So my number one pick would have to be the Nightmare Rhea Ripley, and then this kind of my dark horse pick. I'd go Raquel Rodriguez.
And that would be a very big spot to put her in, and she hasn't been that involved, so I think it is a good dark horse. I'm going with Rhea Ripley too. I just think, they're positioning Charlotte as a face. I do think Bianca Belair is going to retain, so I do think there is going to be a heel winner of this, and I think you could in some way, shape, or form see the Judgment Day playing a part in that, and that will build a storyline there. Becky Lynch, you could always throw it on, but I think it's Rhea's chance to shine, and she's somebody who can handle that spot in a main event. And then we get to the Men's Rumble. Is there any chance it is not going to be Cody Rhodes? Make the argument it won't be, unless you think it is.
I'm kind of hoping it's not going to be Cody Rhodes coming out winning the Rumble, because they've been really overhyping his return, and I just really don't want to see Cody Rhodes win the Rumble this year. I'm sorry, I just don't.
So who are you going with?
I'm going with. I think you're gonna know who.
Is it the formerly reigning, defending, undisputed WWE champion, Brock Lesnar?
Potentially.
That's who I'm going with.
I'm going with The Rock if he shows up. If he shows up, then that's my prediction. I think he's either going to show up after the Roman Reigns Kevin Owens match or in the Rumble.
That would be a huge. I mean, if they're keeping that secret, that's going to be a huge pop and a huge surprise. They're certainly playing it up as, oh, we don't know if he's coming, we don't know if he's going. And I don't know. And again, given his schedule, I don't know what he can really commit to over the next couple of months. So I feel like it might have to be a little bit closer. That's why I'm not going with him. I still think he's going to be Roman's opponent at Mania somehow. But again, I think the easy pick is Cody Rhodes. He's Vince proof if Vince decides to take over creative. But, the old saying is, in case of emergency, Brock Glass. And I just don't see another person out there. And with his return on Monday night, I don't see another person out there that's going to make, really draw. So I think somehow he works his way into the Rumble and somehow he wins and sets up something somehow with Roman for Mania coming up.
So that's going to wrap it up for our predictions segment here on Against the Ropes. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode. But before we go, we are going to give our wildest and most unlikely wrestling predictions and what we'd like to call wrong answer only. So, Berk, you want to go first?
I think, again, we're looking ahead to the Royal Rumble here. I was actually going to say, hey, The Rock was going to win the Royal Rumble. There's some plausibility to it, but I think that would be a huge jump right now. The other one I would say was Steve Austin winning the Royal Rumble. But one of those guys, they've been talked about. I just don't think it's going to happen.
So for me, I'm going to have to go with The Rock winning the Rumble because they're just teasing it so much, and I just want to see The Rock show up. That's all I want to see. The Rock show up.
I think a lot of people are with you on that one.
Well, that's going to wrap things up for our third episode. We'll see you next week on Against the Ropes for our Royal Rumble recap show. But until then, we wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors.